Batman. Good luck, Harry Potter.
Well, cover me with eggs and flour and bake me for 40 minutes.
Hello, and welcome to ScreenMasters with me, Bav.
And me, Fluff.
And today on the show, we are going to be taking a look at the life and career of John Candy. So, with that in mind, I realised I haven't done this yet since the relaunch. I would like to turn to some wise words and say, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme, get on up, it's bobsled time. Cool run-ins! Okay. So yes, welcome everyone. We are here again for another episode. Let's get all the admin shit out of the way. If you would like to join in the conversation and help us out, you can find us on all the major podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, even direct from Acast ourselves, where it is hosted. All of these links are available on our social media channels, either Facebook, Blue Sky, which I set up a few weeks ago, or Instagram, or even just old-fashioned email. But if you search for The ScreenMasters on any of the social media platforms, you should find us. We are also on YouTube. So please, if you are watching on YouTube, or even if you're not, go over there, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It all helps. It's a brand new channel. So we are trying to grow that as we go along.
You've been a busy boy.
Go on.
You've been a busy boy.
I have. Old-fashioned email is thescreenmasters@gmail.com for any communications that way, or like I say, all the social media platforms are there. Search for the Screenmasters, and all of them usually have a pinned comment at the top. A pinned post at the top with all of the links that you can find us on. So, it's been a few weeks. How have you been?
It has been a minute. Like, I've realised I don't think we've actually spoken in person since we last did our pod.
No, we haven't.
And that is an oddity. It's been a busy month for me.
You were busy with the house and stuff, so I was just like, he'll tell us when he's ready, you know?
That's it. It's nice to catch up because, again, sometimes, you know, it's nice to get the organic feel for an actual real conversation. We haven't actually spoken. But even before we started recording, we didn't even. So it's nice to just jump in. How are you doing, my friend? I'm all right.
Good. Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Life is lifing. And yeah, no, been watching some interesting stuff. So yeah, like you say, I'm excited to sit down and have a good old catch-up chat.
So it's actually been such a point that I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a list. I'm not the one that usually makes the lists. You're the more organized one.
Yeah.
And I have actually made a list. So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna go through, and we'll chop and change. But firstly, I needed to address a comment that you made I think it was from our first relaunch pod, and it was about Predator Badlands, and it was about the name Yautja.
Yes.
And I went away, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try and get an answer to this. So the actual answer is that it was in a novel in 1994 that originally created this name, and it then did kind of go off and be used in various books, and especially in comic books, because there's a lot more comic books out there. And then the first mention of it was in Killer of Killers in the film context. So there you go, a little history for you.
Yeah, so that's it. I didn't think I'd seen it anywhere before, so I thought it must be media. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, nice.
So there you go. That's number one. Number two.
Go for it.
We're going to get onto a bit of news now.
Go on.
Now, as a big fan of the game and having played, I'm going to say upwards of 300 to maybe 500 hours of the game. That's a lot, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, I'm aware of that. Baldur's Gate 3 is getting an HBO follow-up series.
Yeah, sequel, isn't it? To the game. And it's
So,
Craig Mazin, like Chernobyl was amazing, but when you look at the other stuff he's done in his career, there are some misses there. So I'm hoping he'll do a good job. I really am.
I'm intrigued by the concept. I mean, we'll get to our love of D&D and all things Critical Role at a future episode, but the fact that the success of the game has been such that they've looked at certain properties now with Last of Us, with Fallout, with any number of the other shows that we've still got coming. They've looked at Baldur's Gate and gone, yeah, that's one we want to tackle. And I think there's so many opportunities for some of these studios now to actually pick something up. We'll see whether I'm hopeful that it does something good, because most of the voice actors, they did a lot of the caption work for the characters as well. If you haven't played the game, I encourage you to, because it is a fantastic game. But you could see a lot of them returning. But anyway, that's one that's on my radar.
Yep, indeed. I mean, on that thing, I suppose we should touch on, like they've got the God of War cast now for that series. Obviously, Fallout 2 second series is finished now. I've not seen it all yet. I'm on about the third episode. But yeah, it seems like they're all digging in their war chests and going, oh, what can we make? Oh, Lara Croft, that was the other one, Tomb Raider. They're doing a Tomb Raider series with Sophie Turner, aren't they? So, like, they're all going, oh, hang on, we've had some success here. Let's dig in the chest and see what we can make a movie on, or TV series, whatever it might be. So we'll they all hit the highs of, the things that inspired them, or whether they're a bit more of a damp squib.
Yeah, the grab for a lot of intellectual properties is definitely, I mean, it's always there, but it's nice to see some properties. And this brings me to my next bit of news. Apple TV, and again, we're going to get to Apple TV again in another huge episode. They have now picked up the rights to a writer that myself and our good friend Gav have been reading for years. In fact, he introduced me to the writer, Brandon Sanderson, and he's
Mistborn.
Yes.
Is it the Mistborn? You know what? Funnily enough, my last credit on Audible before I shut it down, I thought, everyone raves about this series.
Yeah,
I'll get the first one, and it will sit there until I'm ready for it. So, funnily enough, I've got the first one of those to listen to. But carry on.
No, so yeah, no. Well, you'll probably have more of a vested interest in listening to them now, because they have now picked up the whole of his Cosmere. That's what his whole universe is called. It's when we talk about world building, this guy can build worlds and then some.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So the two things that they're doing that they've announced so far is that there's going to be movies of the Mistborn series.
Okay.
And there's going to be a TV show based on the Stormlight series. So each one of them is very different in the characters and the setting. But it all is part of this overarching Cosmere, like a shared universe. So I'm like Apple TV, the one that we've been kind of raving a little bit about, has now picked this up as well. I have high hopes.
Yeah, same here. And you're right. I know obviously we won't sit on Apple TV too much because, as you say, we bit of foreshadowing. We may already have some plans for a couple of episodes based around them. They're the quiet man in the back. I always feel they just sat there in the background. They're not as front and center as Netflix or Paramount or Disney, but they're just sat there plugging away, producing some really good stuff. Like I say, we will discuss that further later down the road, but it is, like you say, interesting that they're still pushing, they're still picking interesting stuff up, and I do have faith that they'll do something good with it.
Likewise, I have high hopes. I mean, another series, thinking on, I'm not sure whether it was mentioned, probably before we took our break. The Bobaverse series, which again I was introduced to, and then I introduced to you.
Indeed.
Which was picked up by Lord and Miller. So, there's again another fantastic sci-fi series. Personally, I can't read that book now. I read it to begin with, but now I have to do the audio because the audio is just so incredible.
It's Ray Porter, isn't it? I just his I've got the first, like you, I've got the first one in book form, physical form, as it were, and I read about half of it and then just started again on Audible from the beginning.
Yeah, Ray Porter he's just a fantastic reader, and that brings me, just oddly enough, to my next point, which is it's March, and one of the films that I am so excited for this year is out in only a couple of weeks, which is Project Hail Mary, oddly enough, that Ray Porter did the narration for the audiobook.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I do think they've given away too much in the trailer. I think they should have left it. Fair enough, let people know that Rocky is a thing you're going to encounter.
Sure.
But I kind of wish that they'd left it in the trailers so that you didn't know whether the alien was goody or baddie, I think it would have been interesting to leave a question mark over that going into the film fresh. Obviously we know because we've read the book, but...
Sure. I've debated that myself, and honestly, with media being media now, because of that very statement you've made, the directors have actually answered it. And their answer was that they wanted the audience to understand that this is not a scary kind of alien, that it's a buddy movie, because Rocky will be there before the end of the first act was their point, and they wanted to show that it is them together. And I appreciate that, but yeah, some of the mystery is always a little bit taken away in so many trailers now. You think about how many back in the day we got a trailer, that was it. Now you get 4 or 5 different trailers. Some of them could be 2-3 minutes long. So
yeah, there's a movie I'll mention actually where there is a joke in the trailer that I was like, okay, it must be in the first act. No, it's about an hour and a half into a fucking hour and 40-minute film. And they put it in the fucking trailer, something from the third act. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But hey-ho, we'll come to that.
And then my last bit, this is the last one on my list. The return, for anybody who's a fan of the anime, the return of Frieren. I sat down, watched the first of the new batch of episodes. The English dub, unfortunately, I fell in love with the English voice actors, so I've got to watch it that way, but it takes a while. Anyway, Frieren, if you're an anime fan, I'm sure you already know, but if you don't, then I need to do, I've sincerely realized the error of my ways from, I think, when we did an anime episode. I have watched so much more now.
Oh, mate, I think that was like our 5th or 6th episode. It's
I look back on that episode in a little bit of shame.
Well, I still think Sword Art would be the top of my list, but
it's not. It wouldn't even scratch my top 10 at this point.
Fair.
I've watched a lot, so we'll have to do it. That's another one on the to-do list.
Anime, so we'll discuss that in a minute.
Right, I've exhausted my list at this point. What have you been watching? Surely it's been. If I haven't been speaking to you, you've been watching a lot.
Yeah, so I want to shout out the season 2 of The Pit. I understand it's obviously, us being us, we have ways and means to get hold of stuff that isn't necessarily freely available in this country. I don't mean illegally, I mean VPNing into American servers so that I can watch stuff. But The Pit is difficult to get hold of in this country, I understand. I believe it's coming to, the first season is coming to Sky at some point, but it is ER with the real-time 24 gimmick. I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. It works so well. The set is designed amazingly. I'm not even sure it is a set. It does genuinely look like an emergency room. But it must be a set. But it looks amazing. It is designed in such a way where the camera just flows around an episode. And, oh, God, I love that show. If you're not watching it, watch it. It's fucking brilliant.
I was going to say, with the seriousness of the pit, we've also got the return of Scrubs as well. It's quite a medical jumble coming.
Yeah. I'm not
sure if I'm happy or not. I'm holding that reservation to the series.
Yeah, I kind of treat the original sort of 6-7 seasons maybe as my love of Scrubs. I did not like it towards the end. I'm there for those characters, you know. Movies then. So let's rattle some off. The Rip on Netflix. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck play a couple of cops. It's directed by Joe Carnahan, who is a perfectly functional action director. It's got a few other people in it. Stephen Yeun's in it. He's quite good. But I quite enjoyed it. The critics haven't necessarily gone for it, but I thought it was a decent, twisty, turny cop. Are they the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Are they taking, cuts out the back from the cartels and stuff? But it's quite a nice sort of potboiler movie, set in one place. But yeah, if you like that sort of cop thriller stuff, perfectly functional. I watched Anaconda.
Oh, I knew you'd go for that. I knew you'd go for that.
You know what? It's shit. It's really bad. I laughed twice in an hour and 40-minute long movie. There is an extended sequence, a joke around pee that I'm ashamed to admit made me laugh. And then this is the movie where there's a sequence in the trailer where Jack Black has been eaten by the snake and then regurgitated, and they think he's dead. And then they put a dead pig on his back to use him as bait so they can escape. And he wakes up while he's being used as bait for the snake. And again, even though it was in the fucking trailer, when I actually saw the whole sequence together, it made me laugh. And I'm really, really disappointed in myself that it did. But it did. But in an hour and 40-minute comedy film, I don't think that 2 laughs in an hour and 40 minutes is acceptable for a comedy film. I know a reviewer I like, Mark Kermode, has the rule of 6. If he's going to watch a straight comedy movie that is a comedy movie and should be making you laugh, you should laugh at least 6 times during the running time. And like I say, this one made me laugh twice. Other than that, it was a smirk here and there. So I wouldn't recommend it. I also watched Tron Ares because I am a big original Tron fan.
Not good.
It's not terrible, but it's meh. It is the most meh thing I've watched in a long while. It's got 9 Inch Nails on the soundtrack, and I really don't think it works a lot of the time. There are quite sequences that I would say require some soft music, and you've got, guitar chuggy, thuddy, synthy 9 Inch Nails over the top, and I felt there's some sequences where there's a complete disconnect between what the music's doing and what the visuals are doing. I will, however, say that Jared Leto playing an emotionless robot who's discovering what the human world is finally a role that I can get behind. He does play a robot who has no understanding of human emotion pretty well. Perhaps because it's so close to home. Evan Peters is the sort of main bad guy in it, and he does play. I did quite enjoy his. It's basically an evil Mark Zuckerberg, but So actually, it's just Mark Zuckerberg, isn't it? I don't need to say the evil bit. So that it's all right. Like I say, it's meh at the end of the day. But the 2 that I really want to talk about are I've finally caught up and watched Sinners. And that film is fucking incredible. I didn't. About halfway through the film, I was like, I'm not sure I am seeing what everyone else is seeing in this film. And then it spent the last hour of its runtime demonstrating to me exactly fucking why. I also think myself and Ryan Coogler agree. Irish folk music is the work of the devil, or the work of evil. Maybe not necessarily the straight devil, but it's evil. And it appears that Ryan Coogler agrees with me because that's what the vampires play, is Irish folk music. I mean, obviously,
as an Irishman, don't push your luck.
Yeah, fair enough. The blues in it is fucking amazing. Some of the best blues music I've heard in fucking years. And the performances are incredible. Michael B. Jordan's amazing. Even Delroy Lindo, he's really good in it.
Is he been nominated for an Oscar for his performance?
I know it is nominated. Oh, hang on, we're going behind the curtain here because I think by the time this episode releases, the Oscars will have been. At this stage, we don't actually know what it's won, but it is like the most Oscar-nominated movie of all time, I think. But, part of me goes, but are you doing that? How many is it going to win? At the end of the day, it is a film with 4 white cast members. Everyone else is black. So I wonder, black director as well. It just, the cynic in me says that the Academy is going, yeah, look, we're diverse. We've given the most nominations ever to a predominantly black production. Are they going to give it best sound design and then give it all the white people all the actual awards? You know what I mean? I hope it wins a best director, a best actor, a best picture. I hope it does. It deserves to. But I worry that they've done this so that the board can go, hey, we're diverse. I think it's Jodie Comer who's the only white female in it. Jack O'Connell, I quite like him. I've seen him in SAS Road Heroes. He's very good. I haven't seen the sequel to 28 Years Later yet, but I've seen the character that he's going to be playing in that. Obviously, is introduced at the end of 28 Years Later. So he seems to be rising at the minute, and I think he does a great job in it. Have you seen that one yet?
I've not got round to watching it. It's on the current list of things to watch. Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's one that everybody has kind of raved about, and I think that's sometimes the thing. I'm like, can it be as good as everybody's claiming? If all the awards that it's due. I mean, again, the controversies of the Oscars and whatnot in this day and age, I just kind of, I ignore it a lot. I don't, that's why I was like, did he get nominated? Because I've kind of put that to the back of my mind ever since they let Will Smith get away with slapping Chris Rock in the face and then gave him a best award later on. I can't take these people seriously. I mean, it's the Ricky Gervais of it all. Come up, accept your award, thank your agent, your God, whatever, and then fuck off. But they don't. They all use it as a bloody pulpit for this, that, and the other, and I'm just bored of that now. All of the awards that have kind of been already at this point, all kind of point to the direction of, this is what's going to win. But it would be nice every once in a while to see the people who have actually not only produced a critical film, but also a commercial one as well, because sometimes the two don't always intertwine. No. And, trying to find that balance now in cinema, I think, is important. Otherwise, the Oscars is just going to be completely... Well, I think they're changing it so that it's no longer going to be on TV. It's just going to be on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, isn't it? Yeah. Deal with YouTube.
So that's a step. It's like, we're not putting it on TV anymore. It's just available there. And that's a... Okay, then. Changes are underfoot anyway. So we'll see. Like I said, it's on the definitely on the watch list.
I do think it's worth it. Don't get me wrong. You will go into it thinking this is a bit overhyped.
Michael B. Jordan, I love him. Haley Steinfeld, love her. Jack O'Connell. I remember him.
Steinfeld, thank you. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I remember him coming up from the days of Skins. So I've seen him in so many things as well. again, it's nice to see that sometimes, these guys are getting commercial and critical acclaim at the same time. It's good to see. Good to see.
It is. And then I watched Train Dreams as part of our cultural exchange program. I cannot thank you enough for recommending that film. That is one of the most affecting things I have watched in years.
Mm-hmm.
It got to me at such a core level. For a film that is ostensibly about a man's life.
Yeah. Just a human being.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Just a guy living his life. But fucking hell, it is so worth watching. A friend of mine watched it, and actually I said, do you mind if I read this? Because the eloquence that he put this to me, I was like, can I just read this on the podcast? Because I can't say what you've said as well as you've said it. So we were talking about the bit with where they're doing the railroad over the bridge over the gorge, and they just walk up to that Chinese guy and grab him and throw him off.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, the bit with that guy is just oof. And he was like, but it's the acting after that. There's the unspoken glances that make you fill in the gaps with thoughts of loss, injustice, privilege, grief, regret, impotence, numbness. It's just fucking genius. Every second, every frame. This film makes the Oscars irrelevant. And that's from my my good friend Matt at work. And yes, I agree with him. It is an exceptional movie. It is the type of movie that Netflix, for all their, we're going to make a live action Squid Games, we're going to give Mr. Beast $100 million to make a quiz show. They do still, every now and then, go, hey, you're a up and coming writer director. How much do you need? 5 million? Fuck it. There you go. Off you go. We ain't going to stand over you. We ain't going to tell you what to make. Just go. Make something and put it on the service. And for all Netflix are an evil in this world to a degree, and are probably going to wipe out cinema at some point if they manage to buy Warner Brothers, at least they do still do this from time to time and just go, hey, you're a good guy. You've got an interesting idea. Go and make it.
Yeah, it was hard to not say too much about the film without giving enough away so that you could go away and enjoy it without any preconceived notions from me. Like you say, those words are absolutely spot on. It's not just that scene. It's very much the whole part is Joel Edgerton's struggle with life, and he is expressing it. Again, this is the thing. This is a guy who's not injecting himself with Botox and all the usual bollocks. Not that I can see anyway. His face is expressive. Same with Judge. Again, she doesn't, she's not there all the time. But again, her moments are integral. Again, there's not always conversation between the two. And it's those moments that, it captures the heart and the mind as well. It was one of those ones that I thought, you don't get a story about the struggles of just humanity, and that's it. He dies as anybody does. There's no happy ending, and sometimes
I suppose we should say that. Please don't go into this thinking it's a happy ending. It isn't.
No, it's the story from middle to start of this guy's
lives. Let's be fair.
And sometimes that's that, you don't see that in as much cinema these days, that an ending has a finite point. There's no sequel, there's no prequel, there's nothing more. This is it. This is the story.
No. Like you say, yes, I take back anything bad I said about Felicity Jones. This proves to me that she really can fucking act, and she is very good. Same with Joel Edgerton. I've always thought he was a perfectly functional actor, but this performance is on a different level. William
H. Macy as well, fantastic.
God,
supporting role.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fantastic, and I encourage anyone who likes cinema, go and watch it. It's also shot in 4:3 as well, which again, that the director knows what he's doing if he's choosing to shoot it on a format like that. He wants to capture it on film. And then anime. So you recommended To Be Hero X. Obviously, I looked into it and then realized there are 2 other series before that, apparently. But obviously, I spoke with you and you said, they're set in the same world, but you don't necessarily need to know about them to understand the world. I watched 7 episodes and I couldn't do any more.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I don't know whether I like anime anymore.
No.
And it's a question I've postulated to myself because I tried watching Freerun, didn't like it. I tried watching Solo Leveling that everyone was raving about, didn't like it. I hate. There are parts of the animes that I'm watching where I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, shut up. You whingy fuck. I cannot listen to you whinge and fucking moan about how hard your struggle is all the time. And it always seems to be overly dramatic and it grates on me. But I'm going to do I've got to look inwards. This is a me thing, I think. And I need to look inwards. And I want to go back and watch the stuff that I hold in high regard and see whether that was the same as this. Or whether it is that anime itself has morphed over the years and it's just this sort of new anime style that I don't get on with quite so well. I've tried the My Hero Academias. It does nothing for me. I just don't know why no anime seems to click with me anymore. But like I say, maybe I'm only looking in a particular corner of anime and the stuff that I'm being recommended is all of a similar type. And that's why it's not gelling with me, because maybe I just don't get on with that particular type of anime. But actually there are 4 other different types of anime over the other side that perhaps I would get on with better. But it is something I'm going to be looking into over the next few months, because it has been a long time since any anime gelled with me.
Yeah, there's a lot out there now. It's the boom of anime in general is incredible. I mean, I visited family recently and went through a shopping center and I was like, whoa, there's like a couple of anime almost looking supermarket shops. And I was like, whoa, when did these start springing up? Again, I don't go out in public much. But
they don't let us, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that's true. But again, it's just the craze that it is now. I mean, obviously, everybody goes nuts for your One Pieces in this day and age. Everybody's still going nuts for Dragon Ball Z. But some of the big ones, but the ones that I've found that I've actually enjoyed myself, which I'll get to in a later episode, weirdly enough, are not some that are necessarily top of the charts. But I ended up having watched the 5 top anime of last year. There was a little thing and I read it and I was like, yeah, I've watched all of those. But the top 2, funnily enough, were the 2 that I didn't enjoy the most. So it is,
interesting.
There's a huge range of them. There's a lot of the same, very much a lot of the same. But there's also a great, so I look forward to hearing of your future adventures.
Yeah, like I say, I was just thinking to myself, I used to love, I think about early stuff, Fist of the North Star, the Gantz anime, the Berserk anime. And I still look back on those and I'm like, yeah, they're fucking cool. But actually, I haven't watched them. Like I say, so I'm going to go back and rewatch some of that stuff and see whether it still sticks with me or not. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a future time. I think that is about it from me, to be honest. If I haven't written it down, it probably wasn't worth mentioning. I probably shouldn't have mentioned Anaconda, to be fair, but there we go. Do you have anything else you would like to discuss before we move on to the main topic?
So, I mean, we obviously have plans for what we want to do, episode wise, but I'm not going to say our hand got forced, but I think it came more to my mind that this episode in particular about John Candy kind of went hand in hand with the recent passing of
Catherine
an
O'Hara.
actress who we've all probably seen, Catherine O'Hara.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've recently loved The Studio that she was in.
She is amazing in that, to be fair, yeah.
I mean, as her last character, I don't know what is her character in that.
So the studio is Seth Rogen's character in the first episode. They have sacked the previous head of the studio, not the owner of the studio, but the owner has gotten pissed off with the previous head of the studio and sacked her. Patty Lane, I think the character's name is. And Seth Rogen's character gets made who like she is a mentor figure to him. He is only in that place where he is because of how much she helped him. And essentially, she's been fired because she will not go along with the bullshit that the studio owner wants to do, like buying the rights to Kool-Aid so they can make a Kool-Aid movie. And Seth Rogen ends up getting the studio head back in to help him because he feels sorry for her, because essentially she's been fired. It's the only thing she's ever known, and she is now a fucking mess because she doesn't know what to do with herself. That Patty Lane character is played by Catherine O'Hara. So she is Seth Rogen's mentor who has trained her, and she feels like he's betrayed her because she only got fired because she wouldn't go along with the bullshit that the owner wanted. And in the first episode, you see Seth Rogen go into that owner's office, and Seth Rogen's morals are, I want to make art house movies and give auteur directors money to make cool shit. And essentially walks into the office and agrees to do whatever fucking, IP fucking bullshit that he wants to do. So he gets the job because he decides to forget his morals and say, yeah, I'll make whatever shit you want. So she's that's the character she plays. And she's in it quite a bit after the first few episodes because, like I say, he sort of brings her back as a producer because he goes to see her and feels really shit that she's basically fallen apart and doesn't know what to do with herself now.
Yeah. So that actress in question, obviously we all know from probably Home Alone more than anything, is very linked to John Candy because as if you watch the documentary, which I hope you will, if you haven't already, I know one of our listeners, Dave, Mr. Moore, has indeed watched it already. We did briefly discuss this last week, and she was one of his closest friends from very early in his career. So it did feel appropriate that when I'd heard that, I was like, you know what, the person who gave the eulogy that almost broke my heart when you hear it in the documentary, I thought, you know what, that link seemed good enough that we should kind of discuss the good John Candy of late.
Indeed. And yeah, it's interesting because when you said to me, no, I think we should do John Candy before the other episode, the TV episode that we had planned. In my head, because I hadn't watched the documentary at that point, I was leaving that till right at the end, the last thing to watch. And honestly, when you said it, I was like, but they were in Home Alone together. What's the link? Like, I just did not know. And obviously, you watch the documentary, and I had never heard of Second City TV. I had no idea how many fucking immense names were in that thing. And then you look at the careers they've had and you're like, oh, of course that was them. Of course that person was in that, because it was those people who were writing it. And all these links, like a massive web, just became apparent to me. And suddenly I saw how it was all connected. But yeah, it was amazing to learn that. I had no idea that they were so close, and they, basically came up together, as did Dan Aykroyd, Eugene Levy, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis. I'd got no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's I mean, the documentary starts off with, Bill Murray struggling to find a bad word to say about this man.
That is it's such a heartwarmingly funny intro. You're like, I really hope that at some point when you interview someone, they've got something bad to say about him. Because once he tells some silly little story that doesn't really make him look bad, he's like, that's all I've got. I haven't got any other bad stories about John Candy.
It's you can tell that the thing has already from the start, the fact that you've got like Bill Murray sitting down and actually doing a documentary. He's kind of renowned for not doing this kind of stuff, but he sat down, and it's with Ryan Reynolds because he's part of the producing guys. It's all done by
production, isn't it? So
yeah, it's all done by Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks's son, again, an actor, now documentary maker as well. But clearly, again, you're like, wait, he would have met John Candy when he was a kid because his dad made films with him and they knew each other. So you can see that there's a level of idolization.
Yeah,
frothing out because you're like, who's the first person? Like Bill Murray's just like, I hope you do find some dirt. And I wouldn't say there is dirt per se, but I think
I mean, I would class it as struggles. I don't think there's dirt, but there are struggles, and it's quite an experience. Like I say, I actually only watched it last night because I'll be honest, I'd been putting it off because I suspected it was going to make me a bit of a mess, and indeed it did. It absolutely did. 2 or 3 times I found myself welling up because I just couldn't handle it. As you say, the documentary starts with with Bill Murray and then goes to, I think it's Dan Aykroyd's reading from his funeral, which again is a heartbreaking piece of text to hear. And like you say, I think Catherine O'Hara's is I love Dan Aykroyd's, but yeah, the Catherine O'Hara one got me a bit more. But then it starts chronicling his early years and how he got into it. And as I say, I found that all fascinating. This Second City TV, this almost, what do they call it? The Canadian SNL to a degree.
Yeah, the poor man's SNL, I think.
That's it. Yeah. And like I say, when I kept looking at the pictures of the cast, you just like, what? All these people were Martin Short and Dan Aykroyd and John Candy and Harold Ramis and was writing it. And then it's just crazy that there was this whole thing that I had no memory on. Was just a complete blind spot for me. I found it fascinating learning about that.
And I think that's, why some of these, especially because it's, of the 70s, 80s era where some of the actresses that we would grow to love as kids and then as adults, that, some of them, like you say, the list of names there is the who's who of incredible comedy actors on TV.
Mid-80s to mid-90s. Yeah. They're all over it.
They're also, in some ways, feel like the last of their kind. In a certain sense, the comedy of their era is not the comedy of today.
No.
And the structure of the documentary, having, as again, kids of the 80s, that old home movie footage.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, some of that stuff.
Because, again, you've got John Candy's son and his daughter being interviewed, as well as his wife as well. So the whole family are included in this. And, again, that shows the love and how much that they want to share of this titan of a man that was... Sorry, I'm actually going to use... did note this down. He was a grand man.
Oh, yes, that's Dan Aykroyd's line, isn't it? Yeah. He was a grand man. You're right. I know what he means by that. I know what he means.
I mean, his daughter, describes him as a bit of a big kid, but he's also... He was John Candy, but he was also playing John Candy because he was that everyman dad. and he loved his kids so much that he managed to show that on screen, and that's where some of his great moments are. Just, I think, a real emotional human being.
Yeah. Well, like you say in the documentary, he says that there's roles. I mean, Jesus Christ, he did go a bit nuts at some point and star in or do a cameo in pretty much anything that anyone offered, which again they say was due to, unfortunately, his wanting to please people, and Hollywood is a fucker for that, because if you want to please people, they will just take and take and take and take, and they will never give you anything back. But yeah, the fact he turned jobs down because he was missing his kid's childhood. I know you always hear actors saying, oh, yeah, I miss my kids and blah, blah, blah. But it's very rare where you hear of ones who just go, I'm not going to work for a bit because I don't want to miss this. Like, that doesn't happen all that often.
No,
And,
I mean,
like I say, it says a lot about him and where his priorities lay in life.
Again,
he chose to do that.
One of the things that hits really hard at the beginning of the documentary, again, the things that you learn so much time later, that his father died when he was 35 years old, on his 5th birthday.
Yeah. And that they went ahead with the birthday party and no one said anything.
And it's like,
they just carried on like nothing had happened. That is fucking crazy. No wonder he had problems,
That's
it. Helped a 5-year-old kid deal with the death of his father. They just ignored it. That's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I think it's, again, it's that healing thing for the family to be able to sit there and, you watch your son in tears at one point saying, yeah. And that they've admitted to this is, and it's a great way for all people to look inwards and say as well, you look at the people who, make this documentary, and it's, some Hollywood guys, but there is so much heart in this documentary. It's a little bit overwhelming at times, like you say, because the outpouring of love, I think, like Tom Hanks, when they're talking about Splash, and he basically just say, he's talking about a scene where he's with John Candy and they walk into an office, and he realizes, he said, it is just like John's inviting me to play with him. Yeah,
that's it, because he says he was worried that these comedy guys were going to come in and take the lead and push him into the background, and he was worried about that. And then, like you say, he realized that no, it's, hey, we're both in this sandbox together. Here's a spade. I've got a bucket. Let's have some fun. It's like you say, he brought him into it. And because they then go into a couple of off clips from where they improv shit, didn't they? Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting to see that with, like you say, someone like Tom Hanks, who you wouldn't necessarily, I don't think of being a big improv comedian type of guy, but clearly Candy just brought that out in him in some way.
And it's that repetition, I think, that is one of the things that I noted, having rewatched a number of films in preparation of this.
Indeed.
And especially when he then meets John Hughes, who becomes a kindred spirit with him, and their families essentially become intertwined.
Yeah, they basically bought farms next to each other, didn't they? They say.
And as a huge John Hughes fan of the 80s and a huge John Candy fan, sure, I knew that they did a lot of films together, but now you understand why they did so many films together.
Yeah.
And
he wrote Uncle Buck for John Candy. Very specifically.
How do you how much of a great human being that you've got to be that this whole film, that this amazing character will get to, the films in a little while, but these guys just meet and it solidifies both of their careers. Like, some of the best of John Hughes' stuff is John Candy, and some of
Yeah.
John Candy's best stuff is John Hughes.
John Hughes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I suppose we need to go to the. There were times watching that documentary where I just wanted to punch people. I think every single fucking interviewer that just kept, like, some of those interviews. Sorry, I'm mincing my words, people. There are clips from interviews that John Candy did where essentially the interviewer just kind of sits there and goes, "So you're fat? What's still with that then? Is it a problem?" And bless him, to see him sit there, field this fucking question, stumble around trying to answer it because he's so fucking uncomfortable because you've just been a fucking arsehole. I think they should all be fucking ashamed of themselves. And as this point will lead on to, the whole fucking industry. You know, we have seen in more recent times with things like the Me Too movement and the Weinstein stuff, you know, Hollywood is fucking awful, man. It is the most toxic arsehole place that I could ever imagine going. It would seem, anyway, from the stuff that comes out in the back end. A man who sat there for years saying, "I haven't got a problem with my size. Other people seem to have more of a problem with it than I do." To then make the decision to go, "All right, fuck you lot. If that's all you're going to go on about, I will get a personal trainer. I'll go to this retreat." And then there's that interview where he's like, "Yeah, I've lost 70 pounds in the early 90s. And he looks good. Like, he's got colour in his cheeks. But he's still John Candy, you know? He's still got John Candy's face. But then they say that after that interview, his agents got in touch and said, "For fuck's sake, don't lose any more weight." So at that point, he gave up.
Yep.
And went, "Fuck it, you want me fat? I'll just be fat then." That is, it broke my fucking heart to hear that is what happened. You know, again, those people should be fucking ashamed of themselves.
It's
horrible. You are responsible in a way for his demise. Because let's face it, if he'd have been able to, you know, keep the weight off as he had done, and people had have still given him work, that may not have happened. You know? I mean,
it's part of the equation. I don't think
exactly they are factors. Don't be wrong. I'm not saying it's everything. But
it definitely doesn't help the situation.
They were all factors in his death. Yes, all right. He might have had a weak heart anyway, and he might have died early regardless. I accept that.
Yeah.
But you cannot argue that his weight, his smoking, his drinking were three big problems, and he stopped all three of those at one point and got himself healthy. To be told, "Nah, we don't want you healthy. We want you the fat guy."
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it.
I mean, his struggles. I mean, you know, yes, he got himself healthy at that point, and it seemed to, you know, again, I think the documentary would certainly imply that while it successfully helped at that point, those struggles never left him. Even before and after, the continual struggles.
Indeed. Because he was
finding that identity
at that time to try and deal with all this buried trauma that he'd got from when he was 5, you know?
Yeah, he was, you know, going to see a therapist and talking about it, and then he begins to see some of his friends. Jim Belushi dies, and you know, he's like, oh, it's happening. You know, people around him.
He said, "Oh, it's starting" or something.
Yeah,
he said.
And it you know, when I think about the fact that when he passed away at the age of 43, it's the same age that I am now. You know, he was already, you know, a good point. It's clear, wondering about his own mortality. yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I am that age and I've thought about similar things as well. But when you compound that with an industry that wants one thing, then wants another, and again, the good thing is that you do see that he branches off from Hollywood and then goes on to successfully own a Canadian football team.
Yeah, the Canadian football team. I didn't know any of that.
And again, you see the similarities between that and a big Hollywood star in this day and age. You look at this guy and he's trying to base some of his kindness and off of his childhood hero, John Candy, and that just makes me, yeah, it makes me laugh because you just think how big of an impact that not anybody in the world really understands that. Yeah, he may have bought Wrexham because John Candy did this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I totally understand that. Again, if you are a Canadian, if you're a Canadian, I didn't realize all those fucking people in that show were from Canada in the first place. But yeah, I can imagine he'd be a hero to you, of course.
Yeah, the fact that he gets such a hero's welcome. The bit in towards the end of the documentary when he's passed away, he's making what would be his final film, and I remember watching that film, and it was never going to be one of his best films ever. He'd got stuck in a rut at that particular point, but this is a guy who'd already gone on and starred in JFK of all things. I completely forgot about that until it appeared.
He was in JFK as well until the documentary. Absolutely did.
Wait, that's you got. Wait,
I also forgot he was a voice in The Rescuers as well.
Yes. So, but it's the bit where Eugene Levy's talking about, they shut down this particular highway in Hollywood, and he's like, they've only ever done that 2 times before, once for the Pope and the other for the president.
Yep.
And they did it for John Candy, and they were all saluting. And I was like, that speaks to the, I don't want to say enormity in it, but the enormity of this guy's heart and how much everybody loved him. They joke about him being Johnny Toronto and
that's
the
right.
guy that closes out bars, and Catherine O'Hara's speech in the eulogy where she says, and she reads off the kind of, if you were at an airport, he would stand there and talk to you. If you were at a bar, he would stand. And you realise he was so kind to everybody.
Yeah. Like they say he spent 3 or 4 hours signing autographs at the Toronto Stadium if he was ever there.
And he gave so much of himself that I think it's Mel Brooks just kind of says, it left a void. His absence left a void that I don't think has ever really been filled by any other actor in that sense.
No, I agree. Yeah. Because, like I said, they tell a story from one of the films, isn't it? When he was down in, I forget where it was now, but there's a local who says, he donated tens of thousands of dollars to the local hospital. So that
I think that was when he was shooting Wagons East.
Was it Wagons East? Yeah, I thought it was that one. So like you say, and he didn't. Can you imagine a Hollywood celebrity today giving money to charity? It would be all over their fucking Instagram. They'd have the press there to take pictures of them donating the money with a massive, you know what I mean? It's a publicity opportunity to get some good PR. But he didn't give a fuck. He did the right thing and didn't care whether anyone knew about what he'd done or not. Didn't matter because he knew. He knew what he'd done.
He used the PR in the right way. He was, again, a different era of that kind of stuff. I mean, again, the game has changed with social media, TikToks, and every other bloody avenue for digesting large amounts of information in a tiny space of time. Because that, it just makes me laugh. But the documentary, well done to everybody who made it. It was a labour of love, clearly, for all involved.
Absolutely.
And it shows and it is just sad that it is that era where many of the people that were in that will now be those going as well. And yeah, Catherine O'Hara, sadly, one of the best things I think coming out of that documentary for me, having seen, as all of us have probably seen, Home Alone how many goddamn times over Christmas.
I watched it 3 times this year alone, just because the freaking kids at school always pick it for their Christmas movie, and we do 3 different ones for different year groups, and every single pissing one of them chose Home Alone this year.
So seeing scenes with John Candy, because I remember like watching Home Alone, I was like, oh great, John Candy's in it. Like when I was a kid just seeing it for the first time, I was like, yay, why isn't he a bigger part? He shot that in one day, and then you see some of the outtakes that they don't use, and I'm like, this is just gold for me. I've seen that film 1,000 times, but I'd never seen this part of that film before.
I think, like you say, the documentary is fantastic. If you are any kind of film person, I recommend you go out and seek it out. It's on Amazon Prime. Like you say, on a technical level, I found it interesting when it started, because sometimes documentaries tell their story through a narrator or something, who is the constant throughout the movie, to sort of, through the doc to keep you up to date with where we are. And the fact that they managed to tell the story that they want to tell without having to have a static narrator talking you through it, I think is really clever. The way that you have to interchange different people talking about things and line it up to tell the story takes a lot of skill and fair play. I think they did a really good job with it. Should we have a chat about his back catalogue then?
Indeed. I mean, I have it's hard. I've been juggling the one that I would recommend if anybody was to say which John Candy film.
I will be asking you to pick one at the end.
Okay, let me internalize that debate still. There are 2, and we'll get there.
Okay. So obviously, I mean, I look back at his back catalogue, and a lot of it was I'm just not aware of. Like, say, the whole Second City TV thing, I've never seen any of. It's something I might seek out to give myself some idea of what it's like. I mean, they mentioned 1941 Spielberg movie. I've never seen it. Actually, never seen that film.
I actually have.
So I can't comment on that one. It's one I should have watched when we did our war movies, but
Yeah, so it is one actually that I watched mainly because, as you say, it's a Spielberg film, and you go through that period as we did when we were studying film way back in the day at university, many moons ago. So yeah, I went through a point where I was watching, I was renting as many from the video library at uni as I could, and this was one of those ones. And again, it was one of those ones I didn't know John Candy was in it because I didn't remember that much. And it's a smaller kind of film for Spielberg than obviously he goes on to make, but there are still moments in it that I'm like, oh, okay, that's good, and Candy's good in it. But again, I think he doesn't. I think you see it in the documentary. He doesn't necessarily rave about the film. He's just like, I think we were good in it. It's not the best Spielberg film for a reason. But you begin to see, hang on, this is one of his first films. Like, no, he has star quality. If the TV stuff is where he's started, you begin to see, even in this film, no, he's got a quality. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you watch a film, especially that era, and you watch an actor and go, no, there's a quality about you. I can see you doing good things.
Yeah. So yeah, like I say, that's one I need to. Well, no, I probably won't watch it, to be fair. But it's
anyway. if you were like, you know what, I want to go through the history of Spielberg films, then
Yeah,
sure.
that's it.
It's not.
Maybe if we
It's
ever
not. I
decide
wouldn't
to
put
do
it
a
down.
Spielberg episode, I'll have a look at it then. I mean, the next thing that stands out to me in the IMDb list that I'm going through right now is the Blues Brothers. Now, I'm not a massive Blues Brothers guy, but do you have anything to say about Blues Brothers?
I mean, again, Blues Brothers. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic film that I've watched. He just plays a supporting character in that, and it's again that thing of you begin to see some of the people that he's intertwining with in Hollywood, and some of the films that they end up doing together. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he would be in that. Again, his part is very much supporting, but again, he still puts his all into these roles, and I think that's one of the things. Like anytime he's doing it, I don't know whether it's because I already love him, but he always seems to do something special that just makes him stand out as an everyman.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a series of voices in heavy metal as well, which I didn't realize.
That's a film. Oof,
exactly. That is perfect to describe it. Obviously, in the movie, in the doc, they touch on his appearance at the end of National Lampoon's Vacation. And again, finding out interesting things like the some of the characters he played were essentially versions of characters that he was doing in the Second City sketch show. So it's quite interesting to learn those sort of things as we went through. I mean, then you get stuff like Splash, which it's all right. It's it's a rom-com at the end of the day. It's not entirely up my alley. I think the first thing I properly saw him in and remember him from was probably Brewster's Millions. Because I have no idea why, but that was always really popular in my house, Brewster's Millions. That was always, my parents were always watching that movie. We had it on VHS. Google it if you don't know what it is, you young people. But yeah, I love that film, so I do like him in that. And then you get God.
Yeah, no, it's again that, like I say, I mean you see, I mean, I think one of the fun things about Splash is, again, you watch that and he's sharing the screen with Tom Hanks, an early point in Tom Hanks's career. But as Tom Hanks is saying, like, he's out kind of shining him at times. The racquetball scene is, you now learn the history that, he'd gone out the night before with Jack Nicholson and he was absolutely hungover to shit, but still shot the scene. And it just makes me love him a little bit more. And then Brewster's, he just keeps doing this supporting role and being great at it.
Yeah,
and
that's it. Scene stealer.
Then, then this is where his connection to Hughes kicks in and we begin to get to the gold.
Yes, I agree. I mean, again, I'm not a massive... I don't even know who directed that, to be fair. I could see Little Shop of Horrors on the list. Oh, no, that was Frank Oz. Like, I don't care for that film particularly, but, he was in it. I can see why people like it. Again, another, you then get to... again, it's still not John Hughes, but Spaceballs. I keep thinking about the new one they're going to do, and I just keep thinking, who do you... Presumably they're going to want someone in that Barth role. Not playing Barth, I hope. I don't want you to put Josh Gad in John Candy's Barth costume and try and pull it off as the same. But, I would imagine they're going to want a sidekick character. And I just keep thinking, if you were doing that now, who's playing Barth? Like, what actor is going to play that role? And the best I can come up with, and I hate myself for going this way, but the best I can come up with is either Jack Black or Josh Gad. And And I don't want either of them to do it, because I don't want Barf or some other breed of, Barf's long lost brother, or however they tangentially tie it together, going off singing little scat ditties every 5 seconds if it's fucking Jack Black. So, like you say, he was such a unique actor that's the place where I start to see what they mean by he left a hole. Like I say, I genuinely, because if it was Jack Black or Josh Gad, it's still not the same, is it? They're still not going to do what John Candy did with that character, because it's just not him.
No, and then we get, Planes, Trains and Automobiles is the next film that comes out, and
what a fucking
talk about catapulting somebody into movie stardom at this point. While the films, when I say movie star, I don't think about what they want to be in this day and age. I'm talking about somebody who literally steals the scene.
Yeah.
In every scene.
Yeah, I agree. And you're sharing the screen with Steve Martin, who at this point in 1987 or whatever, he was a big name. Like he had made his name doing the other comedy stuff he'd done. So like he was the star. Candy was the second. He was second billing, if you like, on the poster.
The sheer number of scenes from this film alone is, I can't even, I could say, the scene where he's playing piano with Mess Around and he's just smoking a cigarette, and I could go from the one where they're suddenly, skeletons and he looks like the devil, and
it's so fantastic as a film because it has ridiculous slapstick comedy where Steve Martin pratfalls into the middle of a road and nearly gets hit by a car, and like you say, they go through that bit where they're being squeezed by a couple of lorries, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're skeletons, and then it turns to John Candy and he's in a devil costume laughing maniacally. Like, that stuff is crazy and insane.
And you'd never get that in any of the stuff in this day and age.
Not when you look at it and then juxtapose that with the sequence where they sort of come to a head. That bit where Steve Martin's character just goes at him. And every time he stops talking, you think he's done. And then he goes a bit more, and he goes a bit more, and he goes a bit more. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if people have studied John Candy's face in that sequence. Because that's all it does. It just keeps cutting back to John Candy while he's having a go at him. And his face, bless him, is telling the entire story. And part of me feels, after watching that documentary, that perhaps he was drawing on his own personal experiences to convey that. Because you can see that, I say, when you think about all the stuff the documentary shows you about all the interviews and the way he was spoken to and the way people needled at him and stuff, you're like, yeah, mate, I can see it written on your face. But without a word, he conveys everything. And then, of course, he then goes back at Steve Martin, and you get the classic line, "I like me." And I just think that it's so beautiful the way he does it.
I think that what makes it harder for me, as I'm getting older and I'm getting worse in old age, it makes it hard for me because it breaks my heart a little bit for me to realize that I'm more of the Steve Martin in that scene than I am the John Candy. And that's the magic that man did.
Yeah. Yeah.
That actually made you go, hang on a minute. Yeah, you are the, argument. Yeah, you put people down, but you don't. And yeah, that's, they obviously reconcile, and they wake up like one morning and he's just snuggling him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of craziness in this film. But to get to the end of this film, and again, Steve Martin finally understands that he's actually on his own.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't know, but he knows. And the funny thing is again, having watched the Steve Martin documentary, if you've enjoyed the I Like Me, then Steve Martin has done similar documentary of his own. And in that, he actually explains that the scene where he admits that his wife has been dead for 8 years and that he just bounces around because he doesn't have a home. That scene was actually set much earlier in the film.
Okay.
But when they shot it, they realized that, and again, because they show it in the documentary, and Steve Martin struggles to talk about the scene because it's breaking his heart to, you know, and they then decided that actually would be better revealed towards the end of the film. So again, there's always, these are the interesting things you find out in watching some of the documentaries.
Yeah, I can't imagine that sequence being earlier. It works so well at the end.
Yeah, I think it's earlier in the film where the night where they're sitting around drinking, and he just kind of says, "Where is your wife?" And he just
goes from there.
He just goes from there. But you know, driving down a road in a melted out car, going at like 100 miles an hour, and then being pulled over, he's like, "Sorry, officer. There was a small fire. Everything burned, including the speedometer. So I'm gonna get 80, 85. Oh, really? That quick? Wow! Didn't? Ah, God! Just you give this guy any script, and he's just comedy gold.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So yeah, from that again, I mean, I didn't know this one either. I to be honest, I didn't know they'd done a third Cannonball Run movie, but apparently he was in Cannonball Fever, which must be at least the third one because I know the first two are numbered. So, but then you know the next one that jumps out to me is Uncle Buck.
The Great Outdoors.
The Great Outdoors. I don't know that one. I do not know that one.
If that's not a Candy film that you've watched, then
no, it isn't.
I would recommend that because that is John Candy, the family man. This is the one that very much puts his whole I love my kids, and he very much shows on screen how much of a family man he is because he puts it's that thing of like, yeah, you could see him being a cringe dad like that in real life, because I think that is the film that kind of his daughter said, this isn't John Candy acting, this is John Candy being John Candy. So that would be one I'd recommend for that kind of passion. But yeah, I mean, Uncle Buck. Oh.
Yeah, like we said earlier, obviously the documentary tells us that it was written for him specifically. But yeah, I was one of those kids. I wanted an uncle like Buck. He was fucking awesome.
I try to be a little bit more uncle like Buck. I'm Uncle Fluff to a lot of our friends' kids and my own nieces, who I may or may not have been in a hotel with the other week, got in a lift, we went up to the top floor, pressed all the buttons, and then ran away.
Nice.
So I may be that uncle. I don't know whether I'm as cool as an uncle as Uncle Buck. But Christ, again, when you see in the documentary Macaulay Culkin, who hadn't even made Home Alone yet,
no,
but is still great in an interrogation scene with John Candy.
Yeah, that's really impressive, isn't it? That bit. I found that really interesting that Candy was like, shit, I need to keep up with you. That's really interesting. I do think Macaulay Culkin, bless him, he does talk some shit though. Like not the nature of what he's saying, but the actual physical words he uses. They, although I've just said actual physical words, which isn't a sentence. I guess I mean the literal words that come out of his mouth. Just, I kept, what? What are you saying? But bless him again. It was interesting to hear his perspective because obviously he has had the same sort of pressures and Hollywood toxicity churning him up and shit that Candy did, just in a different way. So it was interesting to hear his perspective on it.
I think the film is just fantastic on so many levels because he's interacting with adults trying to be an adult. He's dealing with very small children and having to deal with that. He's dealing with a teenager and the funniness that comes along with that. I mean, yeah, just, you know, when the two young kids are kissing and then he's just like, do that again and I'll know your face. And it just slams the door. And I'm just like, how cool of an uncle, you know, stands there with a drill as though he's going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, all of these little things. I'm just like, what a lovable character. But again, showing that other side of it, that he's living over a bowling alley or some such thing, and he doesn't have his shit together. He's, you know, quite a bit of a mess, but he's got the gumption to go up to his 6-year-old niece's teacher and be like, she's 6 years old. The fuck do you talk? What are you talking about? Like having a future? She doesn't. Why would she have a knowledge of a future? She's 6 years old. And I think like the best, one of the best lines that I've actually got it. Let me find it. One of the best lines that he ever comes up with, and I shit you not, always makes me laugh. Take this quarter, go downtown, and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. Just makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, it's a great one. That is great movie. Next in the timeline that stands out would be Home Alone. Don't think we really need to say a huge amount more. No. Obviously, the character was based on the what was it? The Smurge brothers or something? Was it the poker players from the? Yeah, they say in the documentary it was a character from Second City that he played. That it was based on. I think they were the Smurge brothers, if I remember rightly, or something like that.
Yeah, him and Eugene Levy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gus Polinski, the what is it? The
Polka King of the Midwest.
The Polka King of the Midwest. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of.
How could you forget that? I mean,
I was trying to think of the exact phrasing, but yes, that was all it was. Yeah, I love it. I love that bit where he introduces himself and he's like, "Yeah, do you not know polka? Polka."
It's just the way he thrusts his arm and shakes as well. Love it.
It's like sold 683 copies. Oh, where was that? Oh, Sheboygan. And I'm like, Sheboygan? Is that a place or is that a made-up word? I have no idea. But yeah, I love that. You know, he's again, like you say, it's not a leading role. He's background player in that one, but is so important. And again, it's his character that brings the proper humanity of what's going on. You know, the bit where they're in the back of the truck and she's like, well, what about these guys? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, he hasn't seen his wife in it. You know, they haven't seen their kids and, you know, because we're doing this and, you know, really humanizes what's going on. Like I say, the next, I totally forgotten, but yes, he's the voice of the albatross Wilbur in The Rescuers Down Under, which, as I say, had completely fallen out the back of my head. I haven't really seen anything after that up until JFK. Is there anything else you want to pick out?
No, again, you know, this is where, you know, he kind of peaked, and this is where he didn't take on as many of the similar roles that he had before. You know, he tried to branch out a little bit. I remember watching some of these films. I think Nothing But Trouble and Only the Lonely, I think. And again, he's still the everyman, but you know, he's not doing. He split with. Well, I don't know whether he split, but you know, he wasn't doing stuff with John Hughes anymore, and sometimes, when somebody's not writing a particular part for you, he was picking and choosing at this point in his career.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's until Cool Runnings that notoriety suddenly comes out again.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think Cool Runnings is watching it again now, knowing what you know. Because I was talking to someone at work, and they were like, I actually think I saw Cool Runnings, and by the time I saw it, John Candy was dead. And I was like, nah, that can't have been the case. But I looked into it, and they were right, because it was released in October 1993 in the US.
Mm-hmm.
John Candy died on the 4th of March 1994, and it was released in this country at the end of February in 1994. So I was like, if you went to see it 2 weeks after release, he'd have been dead by that point. But I really struggled watching this again, because I think you can see that he's a man who's given up to a degree.
Mm.
And I don't mean that he's given up on life, but he's given up trying to be anything other than what Hollywood has told him they want him to be. Because again, this is a year or so after he tried to get healthy and lose weight and shit, and then was told, we don't want that, be fat.
Mm-hmm.
And it like the opening sequence when you meet him and he's at the bar, like say, smoking cigarettes, drinking booze. He casts a really sad shadow, and I think you can see the sadness in him. I actually don't like the casting, because I struggle to see John Candy as a cheater. Because I watched him so much, like you say, being the everyman, being the good guy, being the, he might be annoying, but he's got a heart of gold, so you can't really argue.
Yeah, you wonder.
Yes, he has a redemption arc, but I struggle to see him as a cheater. I can't see him as a man who cheated.
Yeah, you wonder, based on, comments that his family had made during the documentary about the fact that he was picking and choosing specific roles that highlighted a family man or an everyman or somebody of a good nature and things like that were, again, he had offers, apparently, so his wife says, and stuff like that, but what offers were real and what offers were just for fluff pieces. Because
they do say there's that period, I think it's in the late 80s, early 90s, where he was just cameoing in everything that anyone wanted him to do, because he just wanted to make people happy. And then you get to the interviewers who are like, so you've been in a lot of shit recently. It's like,
I mean, he like Camp Candy, and I didn't even know there was an animated.
I had no idea. A TV series that was an animated TV series starring John Candy running a camp. I have no idea how many episodes were made or anything. But I had no knowledge of that until the documentary.
And then I did watch. I suppose he's I don't think it was his last release. No, it wasn't technically his last release one. That was Canadian.
I thought Wagons East was the last thing he did, but
I mean, it's
Canadian Bacon that I've.
Oh no, he filmed that in '93. So Wagons East. Because he died while making Wagons East.
So I was surprised, but I can see what you mean.
Is that, I could be wrong, is that the first use of like recreating a person for live action?
Did they do that?
I'm fairly certain one of the last, or towards the end, one of the scenes had to be generated because he passed away at that point. Interesting.
I don't know. Probably. I mean, the only other one I can think of would be The Crow. Before Wagons East. But obviously The Crow, they didn't computer generate it or anything. They just got someone else to play the actor and then shot him from behind, didn't they? So it isn't the same. So you might be right.
Wagons East,
for example,
is not, sadly not the best.
I'll be honest, I have not watched it because I
did, because I was such a huge Candy fan at that point in my life, that when they were like, this is the film that he was making when he died. I was curious, and I watched it, and I was like, ah. And yeah, he was, like you say, I mean, you see it, I think, in the documentary as well. You kind of see a shot, and he's big at that point, and yeah, there are people saying that he's got nutritionists and stuff like that. How much is that real, or how much is that just a hanger-on that's pumping you for money while doing absolutely fuck all for your health? Sadly, it begins to look to me as though that's very much the case.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame. It is a real tragedy, his life, unfortunately. There's a lot of good in it, but yeah, it is a tragic tale when you look at it, the big picture. And it's a real shame. He is a loss. I've what the 90s comedy would have looked like without him, with him in it, I don't know. It would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the funny thing, all of his best stuff was when I was a kid and I didn't have a goddamn clue about how immensely amazing he was.
That's it.
It didn't come until after that. And yeah, it's nice that the documentary has highlighted that. And hopefully a lot more people will watch it as a result of us.
Yeah, I hope so. So yeah, that's John Candy and the documentary. So I'm going to put you on the spot then. What I'm saying to you, we're going to watch a John Candy film right now. Which one are you picking?
I've still been debating this the entire time.
I get you. I've got two in my head.
Yeah, there's only ever two in my head.
Until the moment I'm going to say it, it's one or the other. I don't know which way I'm going to
go. I very much want to say Uncle Buck because there is so much that I love about him in it, and the fact that it is very much him as the main character. But I think sometimes that a duo just brings out the best in each other.
Good. I thought it might go this way. So
planes,
you say
trains, and automobiles.
Fine. I'll say Uncle Buck. Because mine between those two. Like you say, Uncle Buck, I love for it being almost like I want to capture John Candy in a bottle.
Yes.
Because we know it was written for him. So it was almost John Hughes celebrating the man that John Candy is and trying to show the world what he sees. But I think in terms of seeing him at his peak as an actor, I think it's Planes, Trains.
Yeah.
Because like you say, you get that double act side, which adds to it. But then the fact that he is never a step behind Steve Martin. He is always on the same level. And like I say, it shows that range of insane slapstick comedy on the one end to that absolutely heartbreaking sequence in the hotel room. So yeah, I agree with you. Fuck it. Let's say they're both the best. Let's not pick one. We'll do a double bill. Gun to your head. We're doing a double bill.
There you go.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our thoughts on the grand man himself, Mr. John Candy. Let us know what you think. We are here. We can... I was going to say we can hear you. We can't, but we can read what you say and pretend that we've heard it. I would like to shout out a friend of mine, Kieran, who has given me some very lovely feedback on the first couple of episodes. He's never listened to us before, so he is a newbie. So he's looking forward to the YouTube channel filling up with all the old episodes, which it will. I believe we're probably about 4 or 5 episodes on there at the minute. But I am going to start increasing the release cadence for the old episodes. I want to pump them out at about 1 a week to get the entire back catalogue onto the YouTube channel so that if people are discovering us for the first time, you can go to the podcast side or you can go to the YouTube side. And either way, you can listen to everything we've ever talked shit about. So... with that said, Are there any final words you'd like to leave the listeners with this week?
I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. I'm my own best friend.
What a great line. What a cracking line. Love it. Well, that'll do it then. So, I will say that I have been Bav.
And I have been Fluff.
And this was ScreenMasters.